Good evening and welcome to Build Your Best Life with Deborah D. Smith. I apologize that we're on a little late, but we were having technical difficulties. But we are here now, so welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you for coming on. And as you know, obstacles come in all forms. There is suicide, depression, low self-esteem, bullying, and others that come at our young people from all directions. My platform is designed to assist high school age and young adult males as they follow my basic principles in order to build their best lives. You see, I believe it is better to train early rather than to fix later. I am so happy to have you all on today. Please like and share. The more the merrier. I appreciate it. And my theme for November is Give Thanks. And tonight, my lovely guest, Terri at Tucker, and she's going to introduce herself in a moment. We're going to be talking about random acts of kindness. You know, kindness is being friendly, considerate, and generous. And these are all amazing attributes. People that go above and beyond. When's the last time you performed a random act of kindness? Think about it. Well, we're getting started here. But again, welcome, Terri. I am so glad that you're on and we were able to get the sound going and we are ready.
Hey, you know, we got through, and that's the good thing. I don't know what happened to the laptop. It just didn't. So I'm doing it from the phone. We have several resources.
Yes. Well, how about you go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience? Tell them all about yourself.
Well, I am Terri Tucker, and I live in Birmingham, Alabama. And I've been teaching. I teach school, and I teach in elementary school, and I've always taught the lower grades. So I've been teaching I've lost count, some 25 or 30 years. It's been a long time. I just happen to look this young and beautiful. But I am the mother of 7 daughters, and I am the grandmother of 10 grandchildren. And again, I just look this young and beautiful. And I am the children's director at my church. I can honestly say children are my business. I believe that God has a sense of humor. He kind of set it up that way. I have 7 daughters, and I've only been pregnant 4 times. So do the math. But I actually had twins. I had 2 singles first, then I had twins, and then I had triplets. All by the grace of God. No fertility drugs, none in the family, and they're all girls. So I think God says kids are going to be your business, lady, so you better get with it. But that's me in a nutshell.
I love it. Very good. So we know you are equipped and you are in that right space. So we thank you so much. Good evening, Peggy and Deacon Holmes. Thank y'all for tuning in and everyone else that is on. All right, Miss Terri, you know, it is heartwarming to see someone on the news that is recognized for providing a random act of kindness.
Mm-hmm.
An example of when you did a random act of kindness or was the recipient of a random act of kindness, and how did it make you feel?
Well, it's one of the best feelings in the world. But one act of kindness that we do, and I do through my church with the children's ministry at my church, one of the things, especially when we went virtual, we had to come up with all kinds of ways to keep the children engaged in church, first of all, without being in church. And so I came up with the idea of kindness bags. And I told the children to make a kindness bag. We were actually doing a lesson on acts of kindness. And I told the children that some of my granddaughters and I, we just take a little Ziploc bag and we put, a can of Beanie Weenies and a fork with a napkin in it. And we put a piece of fruit, an orange or a banana, preferably something with a peel on it and that you don't eat. And then we put a bag of chips and we put in an envelope a Bible verse and $2 or $1. It doesn't have to be a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And when we see a homeless person out on the street that, you know, how you can drive up on a corner and people are saying, you know, they have the signs, I'm homeless, I'm hungry. And we put the kindness bag, we just let the window down, put the kindness bag out the window and say, God bless you. And they at first say, well, you know, they probably look at it and say, food, well, I'm hungry, but I don't have money. You know, and that's just my thought. I don't know what they think or say. But anyway, the money is in there. But when they open the envelope and they get the money out, they also get to read a Bible verse. And the Bible verse can just be as simple as Jesus swear. But whatever the children see fit to put on the little piece of paper, it's just a small piece of paper that they write the Bible verse on. And we try to give out at least, well, I ask all the children to just keep a kindness bag in the car. You may have to change out the fruit every now and then, but when you go to somebody, when you come to somebody, you'll have it. You know, even if you have to take the fruit out, if it's been in too long, and give them the other things, just give it. But make sure the most important thing is that you have the Bible verse in there. And so my grandchildren, they have just gone to town with it. They love to give out the kindness bags. They actually say, Grandma, go that way. Go that way. So we're going to see some homeless people standing when we got the bags in the car. You know, they actually want to go out. And to me, that's the most important thing, that we have to teach our children early on about being kind and acts of kindness. So that's one of the things that we do on a regular basis.
Oh, I love that. That's the first time I ever heard anything like that. That is unique. It's creative, and I love it. You know, I work in the children's ministry, so I might have to steal that one.
Well, that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, that is so good. So I know, like you say, now you can tell even your grandkids, they love that. That makes them feel, you know, like they're helping someone with something. So that is wonderful.
It does. And it gives them a sense of self-worth.
Right.
You know, it gives them a sense of self-worth, like they're doing something worthy of, you know, something worthy, something that makes them feel good on the inside. So that's a big one too.
Oh, that's awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right. On page 33 of my book, Build Your Best Life, I talk about developing your skills and your talents. And then I thought about, as I talked about it, an act of kindness I have in there. And I talked about in my book, Michael Orr, and how, you know, he had talent, but because of his circumstances, nobody knew, you know, because he was homeless. He didn't have anybody to care for him or anything. But because the Tuohys showed a random act of kindness and took him in when it was cold and they could tell that he had nowhere to live, he had an opportunity to be with someone, and they showed him that kindness, and he was able to develop the skills that he had. So, you know, how do you think a young man's life can change by one random act of kindness? Just one.
One random act of kindness can be the thing that can change a person's life from bad to good, or just from feeling hopeless to receiving hope, or understanding that there's hope and that everything is not the way it seems. It's not as bad as it usually seems, and that this too shall pass. And when you do an act of kindness, that's what people, sometimes they will say, okay, well, maybe the world is not such a bad place. Maybe this will pass. Maybe things will happen. They gain a sense of hope that they usually probably didn't have prior to that act of kindness. And sometimes you can just be having a bad day, like today. I was doing my progress reports, and I had almost completed them, all of them except for about 3. And they were due today, and I lost them. I accidentally closed it without saving it, thinking I was closing something else. I had to start all over from scratch, and I won't meet my deadline for today. So I was so upset. You know, I was so upset, and I went out. I had to leave the classroom, and I went out in the hallway to try to gather myself. And the lady that was fixing my computer, she came to the door and she said, "Are you all right, Miss Tucker?" And I said, "No, I just lost all of my progress reports." And she says, "Well, guess what? It's gonna pass. You can do it over. You're not gonna get them back. Let's just look at the reality. You're not gonna get them back." But she said, "This too shall pass, and you don't have to have them today. I mean, they're not going home to tomorrow. You do have today to go home and work on them." And she just came out because she saw me outside my door in a panic and said those kind words, and it helped me to calm down, and it helped me to realize that this will pass. No, it's not going to be my deadline, but I'm still going to be dead on and alive tomorrow, and I can go home and finish it tonight. But sometimes those little things or those little words can go so far into getting us back into the right spirit, because we all have a tendency to not be able to connect sometimes when something tragic happens or when trauma comes. Sometimes we need other people to say kind things to us or to do a kind act just to get us back in the spirit of where we know we should be. And sometimes it's just hard, to get yourself back in the spirit. But when I went out of the classroom, I had to leave my kids sitting here. I was really upset
I can imagine.
because I got to go home and stay up all night now. But she did. She calmed me completely down just with her kind words. So words are a way that we can definitely encourage people.
Right. You're right. So right with those words. And I've been talking about that. But, I tell people, when you go somewhere and you may see someone sitting by themselves, and sometimes you can tell by the look on their face. I mean, if you just go over and say, "Hey, how are you today?" Or, "I noticed you were sitting over here by yourself, so we can't get close because of COVID, but I'm here," or whatever. And
Yes.
it just changed their whole day, because you don't
Yes.
never know they're alone. They don't have anybody to talk to, and so you never know. But just a smile sometimes can make a
Yes.
difference.
Exactly. A smile goes a long way. If you see somebody without a smile, give them one of yours. That's
Yeah.
one of our things here in the classroom. If you see somebody without a smile, give them one of yours. So that's a big one.
Yeah, very good, very good. All right, random acts of kindness don't have to be huge acts, as you mentioned about like your generosity bags, but pleasantries such as holding the door for someone, talking to the student that everybody else avoids, or taking a pill of someone who is sick or live alone, are all acts of kindness, just for small things.
Yes.
Why do you think that more people are willing to be kind to others and stand up for others?
Well, I think now that we're living in such unprecedented times, people are scared. They don't know whether it's okay to be kind to someone. It's not, with everything the way it went down with COVID, we can't hug anymore. You can't shake a hand. You can't get too close. You have to social distance. And we were in our homes, isolated with just our families or alone, even if you don't have a large family, for so long, till I think that people began to develop a lack of trust. And I think we see it more prevalent now than we did before COVID came to town. But yeah, I think we're in such unprecedented times until the lack of trust has just kind of lowered itself a little bit. And it's very hard to know whether a stranger is stranger danger or just a stranger. It's really very hard because people now during these times have become desperate, and they are doing things that we would not have encountered probably before COVID that we see out today. And sometimes we've had a lot of toilet paper shortages. Now they're talking food shortages, the chicken, the hamburger, everything is a hamburger. A pound of hamburger is now what, $15, so people are probably going to get really tight, now. But now is really not the time. And we have to remember that. And that's why this particular broadcast is so wonderful, because even in these unprecedented times, we must keep our hearts open. We must keep our hearts open and realize that there are people in need, and they're just in need of a kind act. And we have to realize that and keep our hearts open.
Right. Yes. Definitely. I mean, it's just like you say, I just thought about something, and I can't say it because then people know what I'm talking about. But I came across something, and I'm a person, I don't mind giving. But when I looked at it, it was like, and I couldn't really tell, is this something that's legitimate? I mean, because it wasn't like a company or anything. And I was like, I didn't know what to do. So I just had to think about it and try to do some research and look. But like I say, it's like people do so many crazy things. So now you just don't know what's real, what's fake, what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's it.
But it is sad because there are so many that do need help. But then, there's so many that, it reminds me, it's going off the subject a little bit, but it would have been a random act of kindness. But I was coming out of Panera's and I saw this man, and he came running up to me. "Oh, do you have a couple dollars? I just need a couple dollars." And I said, "Well, what is it you need?" He said, "Oh, my family, we in the car. We don't have anything to eat." And so it was a Cracker Barrel right there, right? So I said, "Well, I said, let's go in there and get what you want. I'll pay for it." And he looked at me. He said, "You're not going to give me any money?" I said, "Well, what, don't y'all want a hot meal? I'll buy y'all anything you want to eat. But you're not going to give me any money."
Mm-hmm.
I said, "I'll buy you a hot meal." "That's okay."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You never know, because we were in Miami a few months ago, and we had come from a very expensive restaurant, which I normally don't eat at very expensive restaurants, because the food is just too expensive, and you get the same thing at another restaurant that tastes just as good. That's why, though. But anyway, I ordered this big ribeye, and the ribeye was, the place was so expensive till you get like a whole half a cow for a ribeye,
Right.
So I only ate a few pieces of it, and I had quite a bit left. So when we came out and we were walking down some street, I don't know, but there's a lot of walking when you go there, like when you go to New York or something. And a lady came up to me and she said, "Can I have your leftovers?" Now, that is the first time that has ever happened to me. Like, people always come up and ask for things, but nobody had ever asked me for my leftovers. I was so moved by that. I said, I mean, I'm getting chill bumps right now thinking about it. She asked for my leftovers. She didn't come up and ask me for $5 or $10. She wanted food to take to her babies, and I gave her that. I went back inside the restaurant and bought another meal. And I said, "You take mine, you take this. Wait, I'm paying for this lady's meal. Please give it to her before when it's ready." And it's just, I was just moved by that. I've never had anybody come up and say, "She didn't ask me for money. She asked me for my leftovers." And I was so moved by that until I went back in the same restaurant and spent just as much money as I would have on my own meal, on a meal for her. And she said she wanted to feed her babies,
Right.
And it just moved me. It just moved me. I never had that to happen before.
I've never heard of it before, so that's
Mm-hmm.
awesome. I'm just glad you were the one that came out at that particular time.
Yeah. And everybody that was with me, they gave her their leftovers too. They said, "Baby, just take all the food." You really, when somebody, that was very shocking. I had never had that to happen.
No.
They generally will ask for money and they'll ask for food, but they don't ask for your leftovers.
No.
So, so I was
Amazing.
moved by that.
Yeah. That's a great testimony. Thank you for that. So Terri, what are some inexpensive or free acts of kindness that students can perform besides the generosity bag? I'm not going to forget that one.
Well, I teach in a school and but I'm in an elementary school. So in elementary school it's very easy. The children are very eager to please and children, they are just so wonderful because they haven't picked up all that stuff from the world that makes you not trust or unsure of people and everything. And they will bring you, I have one little girl, she draws a picture every week. And I mean beautiful pictures. And she brings it to me and she says, I drew this for you, Miss Tucker. And it's just the thought that she thought about me, not at school, like
Right.
she's sitting there thinking about me to draw a picture for me. That is enough. I don't care what the picture looks like. It's like you thought about me to draw a
Right.
picture for me.
Yes, that's all.
And then I'll have students to come and say, Miss Tucker, would you like me to help you clean your desk? It's a little junky.
I'm a mouth for babes.
And it just touches my heart. They don't, they, of course, they don't know that I'm, all those stacks are really organized stacks,
Yeah.
but, I have to let them do something to act like they're helping me, and some of the children, when they come in, like when the custodian comes in to get the garbage can, they will go and get the garbage can and take it to the custodian, instead of her walking through the classroom. And I just think those things, and I mean, they do that on their own, and I'm not telling them to do that. And I just think that's a small act of kindness to get the garbage can that's across the room and take it to the custodian so that she doesn't have to walk across to get it.
Right.
And then they wait for it and take it back, And I just think those little things are just amazing. And of course they do things like they'll bring me a candy bar, or they'll ask me sometimes, what do you like to, my mama said, what you like to drink? So I'll say I drink Lipton tea, diet, of course, no sugar. Okay. So they'll bring me something like that, a Lipton tea or a candy bar. And some of them sometimes will bring me some birthday cake if it was their birthday and stuff like that, And they do a lot of little things like that in the elementary level. I know it's a little more difficult in the upper grades and even in college settings because the world thinks cruelly before they think positive, or they think negative before they think positive when you start giving gifts at a certain age,
Right.
So, but in elementary school, it's the bomb.
Oh,
We
that's
love it.
awesome.
Mhm.
Yeah, and just like you say, just to think they want to do these things, they're thinking about it on their own, especially when they're not saying, "Ooh, yucky garbage," but they're taking it to.
Yes, yes,
This is, I love it.
exactly.
Yeah, and just as you were saying, as it gets into the upper grades, it gets more difficult because that was one of my questions. Because I know a lot of colleges frown on students giving gifts to their professors. And, now that I saw that, I guess I can understand, but I'm wondering if there's any creative way to show them, your appreciation. Because I was just in a class one day and I think it was near Christmas time, and this young lady, she came in and she gave the teacher this bag. He said, "Oh, I can't," and it was the way he said it. "Oh, I can't take that,
Mhm.
can't take that back from students." And so at first I kind of looked at him, and then I thought about it, if he takes that, a couple things could happen. One is if she makes an A, somebody can say he just gave her a, or later on if something comes up, whatever he was buying her, she was buying him gifts and this, that, and the other. So he just have to be so careful because like you said, people just think of things that.
Yes, and it was that way. I know I've been teaching for so long, but I think maybe about 10 years back, they sent out a message to all the parents and teachers that the parents could no longer give teachers gifts over $10 or something like that. And of course, you have parents who sometimes are so grateful and thankful. They want you to go out, like they want you to enjoy a nice dinner. They want you to relax and get home and take a bubble bath. or they'll give you a card to Bath and Body or something like that, but at one point, I think they did away with that though, but at one point, even in the elementary school, they were telling the parents they couldn't give gifts over $10. So, but some of the things that you can do in college, especially if the instructor is older, you can go get their grocery lists and go to the grocery store for them. You can help them to grade papers. That's a big thing, there are a lot of little things that we can do, even in college, without being incriminated or, it's really difficult though. As you said, it's really difficult to draw the line when you're in college because people tend to think negatively before they think positive about the act of kindness that you're offering.
Yes.
Oh, she just a cheese eater. She just trying to get a good grade. All that kind of stuff comes into play when you get into college. And it is very difficult to do acts of kindness in that area.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Well, I hope it's not that way at your school anymore, because I always say I applaud educators, because if it was not for educators, who would teach our children and our grandchildren? And I don't think that any of you are paid what you need to be paid. So, of course, parents should be appreciative, because I know my daughter-in-law, she goes and buys things for the teachers, but I know she's going to get something, but I might go and get something as well, because, I just appreciate it,
Yes, most of the parents didn't pay any attention to it. They were like, oh, I'm not listening to that. You have done so much to help my child and get from here to there and this and that. And, we just want you to know we love you. We appreciate you. And if they want to read something into it, honey, you just let them read. We're going to go right on with our giving.
Yes.
So it didn't work very well. That's why I think it got thrown out with the bathwater.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes, indeed.
It's so good to give. I mean, because it just makes you feel so good, and that you can give to others.
Most definitely. And I
Yeah.
think acts of kindness are on the rise. We took a setback with COVID, but I'm beginning to see it rise again. I'm beginning to see, they have this thing. On the radio station, I listen to a lot of contemporary music on the radio station because they do a lot of acts of kindness and they talk about them all over on the radio. And one of the things that they do is the they call it pay forward or pay backward. I think it's called something like that. And you pay for the meal for the person behind you.
Right.
And so when that person comes up to the window and they say, oh, your order was paid for by the person in front of you, and you don't even know that person. It's just like somebody did an act of kindness just out of their heart, just paid for your meal. They weren't even worried with how much it was,
Right.
And so they talk about those kinds of acts of kindness.
Okay, you're gonna have to repeat that last one. You froze on us.
Oh, I said I just love listening to those acts of kindness that they talk about on the radio station that I listen to coming in the morning.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's really nice. A couple of times I think I've heard, for waitresses, the check might have been for $4 and something or whatever, and they left them $100 bill or whatever. And you could have been a student that was really struggling. So I love to hear stories like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you very seldom, people, they have these stereotypes, like when you go into a restaurant and you're sitting, I've always I used to be a waitress at a restaurant once before when I was a teenager, and you're living off of what people tip you, basically. But you do have to you do have to be friendly when you're a waitress.
Right.
And some waitresses aren't friendly, but even so, I still find it in my heart to give a nice tip. And there was one time we were at a Golden Corral, and this lady, she looked like you could tell that she was sad. I could tell, but she was being very nice, like she was working through the pain, like you could kind of see it. She was still trying to do her job because she needed to get her money or whatever. And so I left her a very large tip. And she started crying. She said, no one has ever been this kind to me before. No one has ever left me this kind of tip. And she just started crying. And I said, well, you're so worthy. Your service was just wonderful. And she said, you're so kind. And she started crying. And she said, is this really for me? I said, yes, it's really for you. Like she couldn't even believe it, you know? And I really felt good about it because I could see the sadness in her eyes. You know how sometimes you can see that people are sad.
Right.
And so, after that, I just started leaving big tips because people are so appreciative.
Right.
Like they're like, hey, did you make a mistake? I think you put too much on this. I'm like, no, it's not a mistake. It's for you, baby. Go right ahead. Just enjoy it. Just enjoy it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, because people that are waitresses, and I'm like you, I've been a waitress before, and where you may get one table and you're treated like you're a person, you may go to another table and, well, it's not right, and I don't want that, and some people just do it so they can say, well, I want to see the manager. What are you going to take off of this? And it's like nothing's wrong with the service, but they do that, and I've been out. And every time I'm out with them, they do the same thing. So, because if your meal comes back and it's not cooked right, the waitress didn't cook it. Why are you blaming them? So I always tip, and then some of them I tip more than, because they're working, they're trying to do a job. At least they're not out trying to get a handout. They are working.
I don't know why I'm going in and out. The Wi-Fi will sometimes mess up in the classroom, but we're hoping that's not the case today.
Okay, I was gonna say she told me not to stay late anyway, so I'm her. I think we only got a couple, one or two more questions.
Oh, that's fine.
So do you have? You've been giving us so much stuff. I won't say 5 tips, but can you give us some tips that may motivate young men to maybe perform more random acts of kindness?
Well, I think when you are trying to, when it comes to random acts of kindness, you first have to understand who you are to be able to give in that capacity, you really have to understand the type of person you are. And so what I would say, I guess, is I have to first realize that tribulations are going to come to everybody. I'm special. We're all special. Don't get me wrong. I'm not meaning that, but I'm not to the degree where tribulation doesn't find me. It doesn't knock on my front door as well. So we want to always follow the golden rule, which is do unto others as you would have someone to do unto you. That's also biblical, but we like to call it the golden rule for some reason, and I'm okay with that as long as we're, understanding what we're being asked or called to do at that particular time. But I would say first understand that you're not exempt from tribulations your own self, and there may be times when you need acts of kindness or somebody to just help you, like today with myself, get your spirits back in the right place after a traumatic event, and learn to control yourself. Like it's very hard, but if we learn to control our thoughts and not let our thoughts run away, like that man on the corner begging, he gonna go buy some crack. That person over here, they gonna go do this. I ain't getting my money, they gonna do that. Well, we have to understand that we're not called to we're not called to say what to do. We're called to give. We're
Right.
called to give. We're called to offer hope. Um, we're called to just give. If we see people less fortunate than us, we don't second guess or judge what they're going to do with the money.
Right.
If you want to give, you give from your heart. So you have to control your thoughts. Like when it comes to giving, you have to understand that I'm giving, not expecting anything in return. That's what an act of kindness is. If you're expecting something back from that, then guess what? It's not an act of kindness, unfortunately. You're so you have to control your thoughts and your thinking when it comes to stuff. And then you have to, of course, control your own actions, and be of good judgment. Not get yourself in danger trying to do an act of kindness. You have to kind of realize when it's not safe, especially if you're alone, and especially if you're a woman. There are times that you can't be safe. But I would say also to find your purpose, and you know what? We can search for our purpose as long as we want, but just find something and devote yourself to that purpose. And you will find that your heart will automatically begin to open and give. If we could find a purpose, like I did with the kindness bags, that's a small purpose. It's not my big life goal to give out bags all over the United States or whatever, but it could become that.
You could be. Right.
It could become that.
Yes.
But we find a purpose and then we devote ourselves to that, and it can be little things. It doesn't always have to be big things, but we can devote ourselves to that. So those are some things that I wrote down that I thought would be encouraging to motivate young men to understand that it's a heart issue. It's not a hard issue, HARD. It's a heart issue, HEART. And so where's your heart? Where's your heart in your giving? And you have to think about where your heart is in your giving, to be able to give freely and to be able to give and not expect things in return. And it's been wonderful. I'm so glad this is the month of giving, even though we shouldn't tie it down to 1 month. But people do give more during November, and I can honestly say that's okay. That's not a bad thing. We want to give all the time, but if you want to give in November, you just go right ahead and give in November as much as you want if that's the only month you're going to give, or Christmas if you're going to give then. But most people now give Christmas presents hoping to get one in return. So, that's not an act of kindness. Let's make that clear.
Right.
Yes. So, but anyway, yeah, you have to know where your heart is. You have to know where your heart is at all times.
Oh, very good. I love it. And I would say give us a closing thought, but you can give us another thought, but I love that last one. It's not a hard issue. It's a heart issue. I love that. That is awesome.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So did you have anything else that you wanted to tell us before we close out?
Well, I know what you stand for, and I did get a chance to read some of the book. I didn't read it all, but I'm going to read it all. In fact, I ordered 3 really good books, and yours was one of them. And one thing that stood out in your book was when you said that these statistics bear the truth, but they do not dictate our destiny. That is so deep, my sister. When I read that, I said, oh, yeah, this is my kind of book. She's on top of it. They do not. And we have to understand that our circumstances do not dictate our destiny, and I think that is so critical. And like I said, we're all going to face trauma. Everybody's going to face trauma. But how you deal with that trauma is what determines your hope level. It was what determines your new perspective on life, is what determines whether you're going to go up or down or up with the trauma that you face. Because guess what? We're all going to face trauma. We're all going to. every one of us. And so, and that's mainly what you see when you see people out on the street who don't have or are less fortunate, is that they just have run into trouble that they could not deal with, that causes them to be in the place that they're in. And if we open our hearts again to look at people in that way and acknowledge that these people need help, just like I could need help sometime along the way, we have to acknowledge that and then address it and then do something about it. So those are the things that I would probably offer in my closing, that we have to understand that in order for us to advance, even as Christians, we have to have a heart of giving. If we're going to advance in the kingdom, if we're going to advance in the Word of God, if we're going to continue to go forth and to be progressive, then we have to open our hearts to people less fortunate, and we have to open our hearts and be kind to one another and kind to others.
That's right. Well, thank you so much. That is awesome. I love it. Love it all. Thank you so very, very much for taking the time to come and be on here with me today.
It is truly an honor. It is truly an honor, Miss Smith, Dr. Smith. I want you to understand it is truly an honor to be able to share on acts of kindness. It's just an honor. Thank you.
Okay. All right. And are you on social media? Are you doing anything that you would like to leave with our viewers?
Well, I'm just a school teacher getting ready to retire. That's about it. And I do a lot with children's ministry. I do a lot with Pastor Ricardo Miller. I've worked on the global, the global spectrum kingdom work with him. And so I've gone around to different states. We've even gone to the Bahamas and have done children's ministry and things of that nature. So kids are my business. And like I said, I was so surprised when the questions were about men. It was like, well, I have 7 daughters. I don't really, but I do have 5 grandsons, though, and 5 granddaughters. So I do get to encounter that, and I get to encounter it at school a lot as well. So it's been a pleasure. It's been my pleasure.
Thank you so much. And see, and one of the things in teaching the young men, I want them to know that they are loved, they are somebody, they're smart, they can do whatever anyone else can do, and God has a purpose for them. And on the other side of that, they have to build themselves up. A lot of people, young men or whomever, will say, well, I can't, develop in myself. I can't go to school. I can't do this because I got to take care of them. Well, if you don't take care of yourself and you're not 100, you're not going to be able to take care of them.
Exactly.
And so, I want my young men to build their best lives so that they can make good husbands and boyfriends for other people's daughters and granddaughters. So it all works together.
It does, exactly. Yes. And we are in the process of starting a organization, Dads for Daughters, because I have daughters, but it calls for men who are established to find a daughter, a girl, preferably 5 or 6 years old, without a father in the home, that they can mentor and become like a father to that child. And it all started, it happened with my my bishop. He took on my granddaughter, my oldest granddaughter, who is now going to school and college. And he just said, you know what, I'm going to be a father to her. Something she's always wanted was a dad, and she didn't have one. Her dad was not in her life. And it's not to this day. She knows who he is, but he just chooses not to be in her life. And so he stepped to the plate, and now she has what she's always wanted. She's going to, she wants to become a heart surgeon, believe it or not. She says she wants to hold a human heart in her hand. So she's over there at Alabama in Tuscaloosa in biology classes trying to become a doctor. But it's all because she got that foundation from my bishop, who just said, I'm going to raise her as my daughter. I want to raise her as my daughter. And he's there for every daughter event. He's there. It takes a real man to step up and say, I'm going to raise her as my daughter.
Right.
Go to the daughter dances with her, go to the football games, go to, help her all the way through to college and even beyond, And so we definitely are getting things set up to start that particular organization, Dads for Daughters.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. God bless you with that. So it's been great. And everybody, please tune in to my website, www.buildyourbestlife.org. My web store is out there. You can see my services. You can get an autographed copy of my book. You can read my weekly blog that comes out on Mondays. And don't forget, next week, I can't believe it's the middle of November already, but next week, starting Monday through Thursday, I'm having my Grateful event, which is an attitude of gratitude. And it starts Monday night at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So Monday night, we have Billy Johnson of Dallas, Texas will be our speaker. And on Tuesday, Minister Shaquille Hanna from Nassau, Bahamas. On Wednesday, Elder Joseph Levette from Jacksonville, Florida. And on Thursday, closing it out, will be none other than Pastor Coach Ricardo Miller from Dallas, Texas. So I'm all excited about that. So please try to tune in one of those or two of those or three of those or four of those nights. But
Most definitely. Most definitely.
Thank you. And as well, on Thursday, this is the second Thursday, so Carol Crockett and I will be doing our coffee chat. And we're going to be talking about credibility in your name. So everybody can tune in Thursday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be right here. So thank you very much. And remember, as you travel on your road to being a better you, there will be distractions, pitfalls, rough terrain, and detours. But don't let any of those negative aspects of your journey stop you. Though they may slow you down, keep going to be a better you so that you can build your best life. And building your best life is not a slogan. It's our business. Love you. Let's enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.